Coming up, in this health special, we'll be talking in depth with Doctor Chilcott from Watership Down Health and answering your questions. Bertie has the weather, and the villagers of Overton have been out in their gardens over the weekend, and we'll be showing your lawn mowing videos. Welcome to Overton.tv. Wow, what another lovely day we've had. And can I just say, I've been absolutely blown away at how fast the Facebook group has grown and the way you've really taken to this idea. Now, you can get Overton TV in more places too. We're obviously on our website at Overton.tv, and you can view this bulletin there. There's also our Facebook page, and you can also find us on YouTube by searching for Overton TV. Now, before we get on to that interview, I had an urgent message from Dr. Chilcott this morning. He wants to tell us that there are many of us who have not given our mobile numbers or correct email addresses to the surgery, and these will be their primary means of communicating important information to us, but also for individualised care. Now, to make sure they have your details, please do not call them. I can't stress this enough. Don't call them, but go to their website, oakleyandOvertonsurgery.co.uk, click on Administration Office, and then Change of Personal Details. And we'll also give you a direct link to that on our website at Overton.tv. I cannot stress enough, please do not call them. Now, although it's a lovely day and we live in a wonderful part of the countryside and we can get out and about and enjoy it, keeping our distance has never been so important. And it's easy to forget that and get too close. Now, in this health special, I talked to Doctor Chilcott over the weekend about social distancing and many other aspects of the coronavirus outbreak, and also put some of your questions to him. Dr. Chilcott, thank you very much for taking time out this morning, or it must be a really busy week, to chat to us. So I just want to kind of start from the beginning, really. So just talk me through what the current evidence is about the coronavirus known as COVID-19 and where we are with it at the moment.
It's a virus that's originated in central China. It could have originated in other parts of the world, but that's where it came from. It started, or was first identified tail end of December, and first started extrapolating its spread quite quickly afterwards in China and spreading internationally. It's a new coronavirus, so we haven't got immunity to it, and it's virulent, so it is contagious and passes very swiftly. It's travelled around the world, as I'm sure you're aware, outside China initially, and to the local areas adjacent to China, so Vietnam and Japan, and then very swiftly spread to Iran and Italy, and now Europe seems to be the epicentre at the moment.
And what are the symptoms that you know about of coronavirus COVID-19?
Primarily has symptoms of a dry, persistent cough, often associated with a high fever. And this is a fever above 37.8 degrees centigrade. And you'll immediately identify that is common to many other respiratory tract infections and illnesses that we commonly suffer at this time of year. So it can be difficult to associate or symptoms specifically with COVID-19. And that's why we're being so careful about going into the process that we're going through at the moment.
So what do we know about its different effects on the young and old?
COVID-19 primarily causes problems in the older age group and those with medical comorbidities. It can affect anyone, but the majority of us get mild, self-limiting symptoms, rather like any standard winter cold or flu, and those symptoms can last for 7 days. So you are contagious for 7 days from the start of your symptoms. In the elderly group and those with significant medical comorbidities such as chronic lung disease or chronic kidney disease, diabetes, those who are immunosuppressed or on medication that makes their immune system weaker, need to be particularly careful of this. And the sad stories we're hearing in other parts of the world show us that it's primarily this cohort of people that are getting the adverse effects of COVID-19.
There is a lot of discussion on the internet as to why we're being so worried about it. Just tell me why it is a real concern to us, even though a lot of people in this country may not see anyone who has coronavirus or is showing symptoms.
Yes, the reason why we're concerned about it is because it's new. Nobody's come across it before, and therefore, as a population, we don't have any immunity to it. When that happens, and then combined with a virus that is virulent, we know that the rate of spread can be extremely rapid. And when that happens, it's very difficult for us to control the impact it has on the health system, on individuals, and on society as a whole. So the reason why this is particularly an issue is, although the mortality is higher than the normal flu, it's mainly in regards to the fact it's new and that it's spreading very quickly. That's why, of course, we have these social distancing measures that have come in, and I would absolutely advocate everybody to take these to heart. So the idea of not going to the pub, the restaurant, not going to the sports event, not going to church, not going to large gatherings or any gatherings at all, really, apart from your those within your household. We do need to take those very much to heart. This is vitally important. Let me take those to heart. Those who have symptoms, so if you have a dry continuous cough and a high temperature, you need to self-isolate. That's different from social distancing, but that means you need to be within your own home and not go out of the house at all. You need to be there for 7 days from the onset of symptoms, and anyone in the house household with you needs to be within the house for 14 days. Okay, that's really important. The incubation period is such that you will need to self-isolate for 14 days. Those people who are particularly unwell with those chronic conditions that I mentioned and that you can find on the NHS website and the government websites will need to carry out a process really of social shielding, and that's staying indoors for a much longer period of time, probably up to 12 weeks.
Talking about social distancing, etc., some people have talked about, obviously, that they have relatives and people who are more vulnerable that don't necessarily live with them, but they still need to look after and take care of. What's the current advice, the current thinking of enabling people to still do that?
Social distancing, we need to make sure that we keep 2 meters apart from people. If you are looking after elderly relatives or people who are vulnerable, then you can still help them by getting their shopping or getting their prescriptions, and you can deliver it to their house, and you can leave it outside the house and they can pick it up. You still need to maintain your 2 meters distance. You can have communication at the front door or through a window, or and of course using all the social media that is available as well. In terms of coronavirus staying on surfaces like shopping, we know that the ability of the coronavirus to survive on surfaces can be up to 5 days. It does vary depending on the surface type. So I would always recommend that you wash your hands or use antibacterial gel before packing the shopping and as you deliver it. And then the person who's picking it up will need to wash their hands after handling it as well.
And if you think you have symptoms, how can people access services at the surgery?
Well, we're now the Watership Down Health Surgery, so we encompass Overton, Oakley and Kingsclere, so we are much wider in terms of our population, and so we're caring for all of those people. The access is if you have mild self-limiting symptoms, then you can get advice on the 111 online service, and so that's available. Very good. You can go through the algorithms to answer your questions. If you can also contact us at the surgery, and we are operating a telephone triage system that allows us to speak to people in that regard. So if you are unwell, you can of course contact the 111 service, or you can contact us at the surgery, and we'll be able to answer your questions. We might directly to the appropriate source of help.
So as cases rise, how do you expect the kind of services you offer to change?
The services are changing already. They already have. Our primary aim is to continue to provide a high level of care provision for all our patients. But naturally, as you might imagine, we're focusing on urgent cases, those who are unwell, due to COVID-19 or not COVID-19, as well as the significant conditions that we look after. So some of our services will be adapted, altered, or temporarily postponed. Information of that can be found on our website. The primary message, I think, is that we are moving to what we call a total triage system, and that means that we do not want patients to turn up at the surgery unless they are told to. So no walk-in patients do not turn up to the surgery. Most of our communication can now be done online by either phoning us or emailing us through our website. So lots of resource and ways to get in contact with us. So the total triage system means that if you have a health need, you contact the surgery, you'll be called back and a series of screening questions will be asked, and then either you'll be treated, if possible, over the phone, or you'll be invited down to the surgery if that is needed. When you get to the surgery, if you are a potential patient who might have COVID-19, you'll be seen in a very specific area of the surgery with a different entrance to that area. You'll be seen with by medical staff probably wearing personal protective equipment, so the gown, the mask that you have, and the face mask and gloves that you've seen on television, and you'll be seen in a different zone. So don't be alarmed by that. That's reasonably standard practice now for us to wear that if need be.
So we've got questions coming in on Facebook at time of recording, and one person has already booked an appointment with you quite a while ago. And I suppose the question is, if someone's done that, do they still need to turn up, or what's the protocol on that?
At present, we're moving to a total triage system, so there are a few patients who have pre-booked appointments that are still on our system. You will be contacted, if you haven't been contacted already, and asked the screening questions to exclude COVID-19. And you'll either be asked to still maintain that appointment, or if it can be, it will be dealt with over the phone, or postponed if that is safe to do from a medical point of view. Moving forward, patients will still come down to the surgery, but they will have been triaged by the team via the screening questions. Those questions will probably be asked a number of times before you get to see anybody. I apologise for that, but that is just for appropriate safety measures. So for the avoidance of doubt, do not come to the surgery if you have a temperature above 37.8 or you have a dry and continuous cough. Okay, contact the surgeon and ask what you need to do in that situation.
If you think you have the symptoms, is there any testing available? What can people do to see if they've got coronavirus COVID-19?
At the moment, there is no generic, widespread, population-based testing for COVID-19. COVID-19 testing is being carried out for patients who are critically unwell in hospital setting, those who have a very high suspicion of index suspicion that they have COVID-19, or healthcare workers who've been exposed to somebody who's had COVID-19. It might be expanded in due course, particularly to healthcare workers, to now enable them to be identified as negative so they can get back into the workforce. Our challenge is that with the guidelines in terms of social isolation, if you have symptoms, a large proportion of our staff are and will be duty bound not to attend work. Now, this is a challenge because one of the problems we have in the NHS is something called presenteeism, people coming into work even though they're unwell and perhaps they should be convalescing at home. This is a different scenario, and everyone will absolutely be obliged to be at home if they have those symptoms. So staffing is going to be an issue, which is why we're adapting our services. We're still looking to maintain the care and quality that we're known for over this period of time, but it will adapt in time, in place, by method. Some things, hopefully very few, will be postponed. We'll try and keep as much of our normal service going as possible.
As you mentioned, that this started in China around December time, and obviously it's now finding its way here. So I suppose, what have you learnt from its progress to where we are now from other countries, so maybe we can in some way mitigate what's going on?
The clear messaging coming through from experiences in China and Italy particularly are that the importance of social distancing and social isolation is absolutely paramount. So it is our duty, and that's not a word we often bang around nowadays, but it is our duty as citizens to really take that to heart. Lots of information out there about exactly what that means on BBC website or the NHS website or the government websites, but you must take that to heart. This is absolutely serious, and it is not a time for people to be bucking those trends. So we learned about that, the importance of that. We've learned about preparation, and I am absolutely convinced that we have been able to prepare very well, both as an NHS and us locally in the last few weeks, if not months. There's absolutely amazing work that's being carried out in our local hospital, creation of a whole ITU wards almost overnight. The ability to do video consultations almost overnight. The ability to do remote IT work has happened within the space of days. Personal protective equipment distributed very swiftly. Knowledge shared, and really constructive help from central government, local government, and local CCG. So we are absolutely prepared for this. We are working hard, but we are prepared, and I can reassure our population of that.
So there are people coming into your surgery who are on normal, regular medication that's not related to COVID-19, and I suppose the temptation is to order extra. What's your advice on that?
Well, we've sent around some messaging in regard to this, because this is precisely what we need to address. Medication will be a prioritised distribution network. There's no indication there's going to be a shortage of medication. Our turnaround time will still be as swift as you possibly can make it, somewhere between 3 and 5 days. We will not be advocating or allowing stockpiling of medication, so please do not request that. Our systems will tell us when you've been requesting medication early, and we will just refuse. I'm sorry, we tend to be accommodating whenever we can be. In this situation, that will not be allowed. The pharmacists are in agreement, in the local pharmacists in Whitchurch, Kingsclear, Oakley and Overton have all agreed to this, and we're all on the same page in this regard.
Let's just talk about some of the myths, I suppose, or feelings that are kind of spreading around social media about all of this. And there was something about taking paracetamol rather than ibuprofen. Is there any justification in that?
Yes, I mean, this came back from this came around and was circulated on social media by a French tweet, and then replicated by a French Minister of Health. We've known for a long time that ibuprofen in acute illnesses should be avoided, so this is not specific to coronavirus. The current advice is that there is no evidence, particularly with coronavirus, that it is an issue. But if you need to take medication to, say, for an ache or pain or to bring your temperature down, your best bet is to use paracetamol, because we know that that is safe. If you are currently taking ibuprofen or other non-steroidal anti-inflammatories for other reasons, do not stop this unless one of us at the surgery tell you to.
So a coronavirus is normally seen as a kind of version of a cold or a flu. And so the thinking is maybe when it gets hotter, the COVID-19 virus will die out quicker. What do we know about that based on the current evidence?
Because it's a novel virus, we don't know much about that as yet. The supposition based on its similarity with other coronaviruses in the past suggests that it is susceptible to warmer temperatures. In other words, warmer temperatures will make it less virulent and less prevalent in the atmosphere and on surfaces. We don't have direct evidence for that, but that is the assumption. So it is likely that this, as hopefully the weather warms up, that it will have an impact on reducing the number of cases. But there is no evidence as yet to support that. So
I suppose it's quite human nature, isn't it? With all this going around, people are quite keen to find information, so they're going to lots of sources, including social media. What's your advice on finding the most reliable sources out there as we get to know about what's happening and things develop.
And what I'm pleased about and is encouraging to see is there's an awful lot of information that is reliable out there at the moment. You can find sources at the NHS website or the government website, all have clear marking to questions about COVID-19. If your question is more specific to how processes and services are being offered locally, you can go through to the Watership Down Health website and there'll be information about what we're doing in our surgery and links through to what is happening nationally. The BBC website, of course, has lots of information as well that you can access for free, as do other providers. What we are seeing quite a lot of is information being distributed via social media, some of which is excellent and very informative, some of which is less so and maybe unreliable. So I would ask everyone just to have their ability to interpret that, make sure you take things with a pinch of salt, look at it and analyse it. Is it accurate? Is it true? Before you pass it on and share any information that might not be accurate. And that goes for our interactions on the phone or face to face, 2 meters apart, but face to face. We need to make sure that we are not in the business of spreading fear or rumour, and we deal with facts.
I suppose then a good process might be that if you do hear something, then go and check it out first before you talk to somebody else about it.
Yeah, I think absolutely. Look at the source material. If it's a repost, look to find out where the original source was and try and make some assessment about whether it's likely to be accurate or not. And don't just forward it on without giving it due thought and in that regard.
So I suppose it's a really tough time for everybody, but when we come out of this, what do you think the silver linings will be?
It is tough, and the word unprecedented gets used an awful lot, but it is. None of us have seen anything like this, and we're all going to have to work together in a cooperative spirit. And I've actually been flabbergasted by the response locally in that regard. Huge numbers of people wanting to volunteer and step up, and there are various volunteer groups being set up, and as we speak, both in Overton and Whitchurch, Kingsclear, Oakley, all wanting to help those who maybe need a bit of help, maybe need help with shopping, help about how to use and access IT or how to use their social media, or just enjoys having a friendly chat on the phone or someone waving through the window. So the amount of community spirit I've seen is absolutely stupendous, and I shouldn't be surprised, but I am very pleasantly surprised. It's absolutely fantastic, and in these situations there are always silver linings, although it is hard to see at this particular time. Internationally, the cooperation has been wonderful. So developing a testing kit happening very swiftly, that information shared swiftly, the identification of the virus and the sharing and the work on the genome of the virus, working on the vaccine, sharing symptoms and how to treat it has all been shared internationally almost instantaneously and free without any wish for payback, and that is wonderful. And locally we're seeing people all stepping up to the mark, from people in local government, NHS services, the NHS administration services, and at the practice, all really stepping up to the mark. In our local practice, we've sent out a staff survey to try and find out a little bit about people's ability to help and what they can do in terms of maybe remote working, and almost to a person, they are saying that they are happy to change how they work, be flexible, work from home if need be, work extra shifts, and it is absolutely heartwarming to see that. So we're very fortunate with the level of professionalism, energy, enthusiasm and care within our workforce.
So at time of recording, we solicited for questions and comments, and they're still coming through. So we're going to get through as many as we can in the limited time that we have with you. So Ruth says that, can you still get a consultation for concerns other than COVID-19?
Yes, absolutely. Without a shadow of a doubt, you can still get consultation. Now, that might start by a telephone or remote consultation, email, or video conference, and then we'll get to the bottom of the issue. If a physical examination or blood test or investigation is required, we'll carry out the screening process. Ask you to come to the surgery at a set time and a set location, and that location might be different than you're used to, and it might be at a time that is different than you're used to, and we will care for you in the normal manner in that way. The surgery is being allocated to different zones, and zones to look after patients that have very unlikely to have COVID-19, and you'll be seen in that zone. So yes, we're doing as much as possible to continue our normal services, but they will be adapted in time and place and location. In the next 24, 48 hours, the list of what is continuing, being adapted or ceasing will be posted on our website.
So if you want more advice, then just go to their website. We'll put all the links on our website at Overton.tv. So Dave's just returned from Australia and he's got into 14 days self-isolation and just wants to understand if that's the correct thing to do.
Australia was not one of the high-risk areas to return from. If he has a dry, persistent, new continuous cough, or a high temperature above 37.8, he should be self-isolating for 7 days from the start of the symptoms. If he is in a household with anyone who has had those symptoms, he will need to isolate for 14 days from the start of those symptoms. So the returning from Australia is not the primary issue here. It's whether he has those symptoms, or if he has been in contact with a known COVID-19 individual.
So a question from Joanna has asked, what can be done beyond washing hands and distancing when supporting the community to reduce the risk of spreading?
Washing hands is vitally important. We know that it is effective at killing the virus, and the way it works is the soap breaks down the fat surrounding the virus, and it allows the virus to die. The physical washing of the hands and the mechanical action of that washes away the virus. So that is absolutely vital. If you don't have access to hand washing, then of course you can use a hand sanitizer, and that is equally as good. Social distancing is absolutely vital at this time, and we need to continue that until we're told not to. So that is staying 2 meters away from other people. Cleaning down work surfaces or anything that you touch as well, door handles, out and about, outside your own home, can also kill the virus.
Is there anything that people can do to support the surgery to just ease things along as you operate day to day?
Yes, I mean, the main thing is that we want to focus on the patients that need the care the most. So the frail, the vulnerable, those with long-term conditions or serious illness, those who are end of life, or those who are urgent cases. So if you don't fit in that category, seek help from the 111 service or other online resources, and you can get advice in that way. If you want to contact the surgery, that is wonderful. Please do that via a number of means, either phoning up for telephone consultation or video consultation, or sending a request or query through by e-consult via our website. So accessing us that way is the best at this point in time. Please, we would ask people not to attend the surgery as a walk-in. That really must be avoided at all costs. How else can you help the surgery? Well, we would love for you to make sure that you pass the messages on to those who you know and love. So pass them on to your friends and colleagues, pass them on to your family, your neighbours, about the messages that we're getting out there about how to use our services. So make sure it's shared widely. We're conscious of the fact that not everyone uses mobile phones, not everyone uses social media or uses our website. So if you know somebody who doesn't access the information that way, please try and share it with them, or even better, show them in a safe way how to use that IT so they can begin to to get that information.
And Louise Spears has messaged in and just wants to say, can you thank them for being so utterly brilliant?
That's a wonderful thing to hear, and I mean, we're very fortunate with our staff, and they are an absolutely cracking bunch. They've got a can-do attitude and a really caring approach to the way they look after patients, and that won't change, and it will be absolutely paramount in these times. So we're very fortunate with all our team. But thank you.
So we've had a question in from someone who's got immunosuppression and is allergic to paracetamol. So, what kind of advice can you give someone, because there is general advice about not taking ibuprofen?
The first thing to note would be if you're immunosuppressed, you need to be absolutely rigorous with your social shielding. You need to be at home, not in contact with anyone until you're advised otherwise. And those who are in contact with you need to also be very careful with their social distancing when they have to go to the shops or the pharmacy. In terms of direct questions about medication, the best option in this scenario would be either to put that as an email query to the surgery, or to phone into the surgery for a telephone consultation, so we can just review your notes, make sure what the most sensible thing to do is, and almost certainly there'll be some medication we can use to help.
So at the time of recording, this is still, an ongoing and developing situation with regards to how you're developing your care for various different types of people. And Emma's messaged in about pregnant mums. I suppose, do they still have their usual midwife appointments? What's developing in that?
It's a fast-changing situation, but without a shadow of a doubt, we're going to continue the care for mothers or mothers-to-be. That might be at the surgery, or it might be at a separate location. We're working out the details of that over this weekend, and we will share that as soon as we have definitive advice about that, and that will be shared on our website in due course. We will get that information to you as soon as we can.
So we've got quite a few questions about going outside. We're often told that going outside can be healthier for us, but in the light of the spread of COVID-19, I suppose, is it a good thing to go outside? And obviously, if we take our kids to the playground, or we go to the petrol, get hold of a petrol pump, what's the advice on that?
I think the first thing to note is if you have symptoms that could fit with COVID-19, so a new continuous cough or temperature over 37.8, or you've been in contact with anyone with probing COVID-19, you should not be going out at all. You should be staying at home and self-isolating. And the members of that household need to stay within that household for 14 days from the date of onset for that individual. Okay, so that's the important thing to note. If you don't fit in that category, you should not be going out unless for essential purposes. So going to the pharmacy, going to the shops to get supplies, that is about it. In terms of going out to get petrol for the car, for instance, yes, there's theoretical risk that it's on the surfaces there, so you could wear some of the gloves they provide at the petrol pump, for instance, and you could make sure you use a hand sanitizer on your hands afterwards. Make sure you don't touch your face as well afterwards. In terms of getting out and getting exercise, now gyms are closing or have closed, sporting events have stopped, but you can still go out for a walk or run or bike ride, but you need to make sure you stay 2 meters distance from other people. Those who have young children, it's difficult at this time because they need to get out and about and burn off some energy. If you're taking them to the park as a family group, that's fine, but they need to stay 2 meters away from other people. You should not be going to the park and then playing with other families nearby. But you could go to a local wood and have a walk around there, and that's fine as long as you're 2 meters from everyone else. But that's the general principle. Wash your hands when you come back home, and make sure that we'll use hand sanitizer when you're out if you've used any public playground equipment, for instance.
Question is that for people who have repeat prescriptions but can't necessarily get to the surgery, what process is available for that?
We've always been able to accept prescription requests via our website, and we would encourage people to do that as the primary route of asking for medication. If you're not yet registered to use that service, contact the surgery and we'll get that up and running for you. please do not come down to the surgery and drop in a repeat prescription. Do not come physically to the surgery and do that. If you do go to the pharmacy and drop the request into the pharmacy, then they'll pass it on to us. But the best way is the online access, and we'll be able to turn around prescriptions within 3 to 5 days, and very often much more swiftly than that. If you need to then phone in the surgery, I would say that is not quite such a good option than the online option, because we need our phone lines for other uses. We normally have a policy of not accepting telephone requests for medication as a rule, but of course in this scenario we will be making exceptions. But I would definitely signpost people to using the online service for requesting repeat prescriptions. And again, I emphasise that you do not need to stop by your medication. Request it at most a week before you're about to run out. Our turnaround time is such that will be perfectly adequate. No indication that supply lines from pharmaceuticals is going to be impacted at all. We're still trying to find out information about the coronavirus, and quite a few questions have come in really. Just, do we know is it any clearer about what the incubation period is for coronavirus COVID-19? The kind of advice is that the incubation period can be up to 14 days. So the scientists are still working out exactly what that means, what the actual incubation period is. But the evidence to date suggests it can be up to 14 days. The importance of knowing that is that if you have symptoms of coronavirus 19, so a new dry continuous cough or temperature over 37.8, or you've been in contact with someone with COVID-19, you should be at home isolating for 7 days from the onset of symptoms. If you're on your own, that's fine. It's the 7 days, then you just move on to social distancing, not social isolation. If you have other household members, they will need to self-isolate within the home for 14 days from the onset of your symptoms. If they develop symptoms during that 14 days, they will not be allowed out of the house until the end of that 14-day period, or at least 7 days if that's towards the end of the 14-day period. So if you develop symptoms on, say, day 10 of your social isolation, then you will need to have a further 7 days of social isolation. And final comment from Shona is just want to say a huge thank you to all people at the NHS for their hard work, and we are so lucky to have an NHS. What a wonderful comment, and I know comments like that are just so welcomed by my colleagues. It just is at this time, particularly when people are working hard and at pace, to hear a comment like that is actually bolstering to our morale. So thank you so much for those comments. Now, you don't realise what a wonderful service we have and wonderful people we have looking after us until you get to moments like this. So and lots of comments like that. It's brilliant. It's fantastic. Thank you. And I think we are very fortunate in this country in that we have an organisation like the NHS that will look after you no matter what your status, your rank, your wealth, your creed, your race, and you'll be looked after to a high standard. On a practical note, the NHS is to a large degree is centrally controlled, and actually that stood us in a great stead for this pandemic, ability to have a very coherent command and control structure. So it's been wonderful to be working within that organisation. Well, look, we've answered lots of questions, Dr. Chilcott. Thank you ever so much for your time today. Thank you very much, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk to our patients like this. And we'll be putting that interview on the website at Overton.tv in bite-sized chunks, so you can find the bit of information that you need. Now, here's Bertie with the weather.
Has it been great weather over the weekend? It's great if we can get fresh air in our gardens, and it looks like this week will be much more of the same after today's glorious sun. This evening will be clear, dipping to 2 degrees before dawn. More sun tomorrow with a high of 13 degrees. So, throw the windows open, and kids during the school break, get up, get active and have fun. Back to you, Darren.
Thanks, Bertie. And if you want to be one of our weather presenters, get in touch with me. Email darren@overton.tv. Now, we'll be back online from 9 Friday evening, and it's looking to be a really busy one already. Until then, keep your comments, videos and suggestions coming in, and I'll leave you with this little montage of us all getting out and about in Overton and mowing our lawns. Take care. Well, looks like it's a nice day outside. Gonna go mow the lawn then.
Come on then, Overton, let's mow. Out there. One more.